If you've ever felt like your mind works differently, like you notice things other people miss, like you can read a room in seconds, but at the same time, you feel exhausted by it. There's a reason for that, because not all intelligence comes from books. Some of it comes from survival. And if you've been through certain experiences, your mind may have developed something most people don't even realize exists. It's called traumatic intelligence, and it doesn't always feel like a gift. It often feels like overthinking, like emotional weight, like constantly being on when you wish you could just relax. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Think about this. You walk into a room and instantly feel something is off. No one says anything. Everything looks normal, but you can feel the tension. You notice small shifts in tone, the way someone avoids eye contact, the slight pause before someone answers. And you don't just notice it, you process it quickly, automatically, almost like your brain is scanning everything at once. Most people don't do that. They just see a room. You see patterns. And that's where the first sign begins. Sign one, you read people without trying. Not because you want to, but because your mind learned that it had to. At some point in your life, reading people wasn't optional. It was how you stayed safe. So now, you pick up on micro-expressions. Tone changes. Energy shifts, even when nothing is said. And here's the strange part. You often understand what someone feels before they do. That's not normal awareness. That's trained perception. And it can feel overwhelming because you don't just experience your own emotions. You absorb the room. Pause for a second. Think about how often you've been right about someone, even when you had no proof. That's not coincidence. That's pattern recognition shaped by experience. Sign two, you overthink decisions, even small ones. Not because you're indecisive, but because your brain is always running scenarios. What if this goes wrong? What happens next? How will this affect everything else? You don't just see the present moment. You see possible futures. And that's exhausting because while others act quickly, you calculate. You analyze outcomes, risks, consequences. And sometimes you get stuck. But here's what most people don't understand. That thinking didn't come from nowhere. It came from a time when your choices actually mattered more. When one wrong move could create real consequences. So your brain adapted. It learned to think ahead, to protect you. That's not weakness. That's intelligence shaped by pressure. Sign three, you stay calm in situations that stress other people. When things go wrong, when emotions rise, when chaos appears, you don't panic. You focus. You become sharp. Almost like your mind switches into a different mode. And people might even say, "How are you so calm right now?" But what they don't see is, you've been here before. Maybe not the exact situation, but the feeling of unpredictability, of tension, of needing to respond quickly. That's familiar. So your nervous system doesn't freeze. It activates. Because for you, stress isn't new. It's something your mind learned to navigate. But there's a hidden cost. Because when things are calm, you don't always feel calm. Your system doesn't fully switch off. And that's something most people never notice. Sign four, you struggle to fully relax, even when nothing is wrong. You might be sitting alone, everything is quiet, and still, your mind keeps going, thinking, replaying, analyzing, looking for something that might go wrong, even when there's no real reason. It's like your brain doesn't trust stillness, because at some point, stillness didn't feel safe. So now, you stay alert, not in a dramatic way, but in a subtle, constant way. And that kind of awareness is exhausting, because you're always slightly on, even when you don't need to be. Pause for a moment. When was the last time you felt completely relaxed, without your mind wandering into what-if thoughts? If that feels rare, this might explain why. Sign 5. You understand people deeply, but feel misunderstood yourself. You can sit with someone, listen to them, and truly get what they're feeling, even the things they don't say out loud. You know how to respond, what to say, how to hold space. But when it comes to you, it's different. People don't always see your depth. They see you as quiet, or overthinking, or too sensitive. But they don't realize how much is happening inside your mind. And over time, that creates distance, because you're used to understanding others without being fully understood in return. And that can feel isolating, even when you're not alone. And here's where it gets interesting. Most people would look at these signs and call them problems: overthinking, sensitivity, hyperawareness. But the truth is, these aren't flaws. They're adaptations. Your mind didn't become this way randomly. It learned. It adjusted. It developed patterns that help you navigate complex emotional environments. And those patterns turned into a form of intelligence. Not academic intelligence, not something measured by tests, but something deeper: the ability to read situations, to anticipate outcomes, to understand people on a level that isn't obvious. That's rare, but it comes with a cost, because the same mind that protects you also exhausts you. The same awareness that helps you understand others can make it harder to feel at peace. And that's the part people don't talk about. So if you've ever felt like your mind is always working, like you see too much, like you feel too deeply, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means your brain adapted to something it had to survive. And now, it hasn't fully let go. But once you understand that, something shifts. Because instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" you start asking, "What did my mind learn?" And that question changes everything. Because it turns confusion into clarity. It turns frustration into understanding. And maybe for the first time, you start to see yourself differently. Not as someone who overthinks. Not as someone who is too much. But as someone whose mind learned to be sharp in ways most people never needed to. And once you see that, you can't really unsee it. If this felt familiar, then there's more beneath the surface than you've probably explored. And understanding that might be the beginning of finally understanding yourself.